Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Crypto Hipster Podcast. This is your host, Jamil Hassan, the Crypto Hipster, where I interview founders, entrepreneurs, executives, thought leaders, artists, you name it, across the world of crypto and blockchain around the world. And today I always have amazing guests. I have another amazing guest. I actually started playing his game the other day. He is Tomer Pascal, the CEO of OwnPlay. Tomer, welcome.
Thank you for having me. Welcome.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. So let's kick things off and ask you first question. Is what is your background, and is it a logical background for what you're doing now?
I would say that it's logical. I started my way in the startup world 17, actually almost 19 years ago. Where I had a vision or a dream of building a game where players can own their in-game assets and trade them. And the game that I've chosen back then was a fantasy sports game. So what my co-founder and myself has built was a fantasy sports game where every real-world athlete was treated as kind of like as a company that can issue shares or stocks. So if you wanted to have LeBron James in your fantasy squad, you needed to purchase at least one stock of LeBron James with real money, and it was a tradable asset. Now, bear in mind, all of this happened way before mobile gaming was even invented, and obviously way before blockchain. So just kind of like charging people with credit cards online was a pain back then. So it was a glorious failure of a business in that sense. Everything was so expensive to do and difficult, but the users really loved the idea of kind of like, and I stayed in love with their reaction of kind of like, I've seen from firsthand the love that kind of like players have of having stake in a game, kind of like owning virtual assets that are tradable, and it stayed with me. Afterward, I joined the dark side of corporate America. I joined a company called Perion, publicly traded in the ad tech field. I stayed there for many years as a GM, managed large groups and large business units. That's where I met my current co-founder, Boaz. He went and left to join Playtika. Back then, it was a small company. He joined really early on, before they were even on mobile. So he joined them as their first VP of product, and then stayed there, became a GM there, and left slightly after their IPO. As for myself, I founded, after Perion, I founded an additional ad tech company. After this ad tech company, I joined a company called Perion. It was back then, it was a post-round A company in the e-commerce field. I joined as their CRO, so it was round 2 in corporate America, and helped lead the company to an IPO in 2019. Stayed there till the end of my vesting period, and you know the gene, the virus, however you call it, the disease that is called entrepreneurship, it started itching me back again of kind of like, I need to go and do my own thing back again. And I called Boaz, my co-founder, and we said it's about time for us to build something together. Gaming wasn't in our mind, to be honest. We had enough from gaming. He specifically, we've seen Web 2 as kind of like a red ocean type of field. But the coming kind of like full circle back to my beginning, seeing what's going on Web3 gaming, we're talking about 2021, just clicked to me of kind of like, oh, it's finally about time. The pieces on the board are in the right place. And finally, kind of like, there is a chance of executing for the vision of ownership and tradability of game assets, opening up this kind of like potential financial upside for players. It's about time. We can do it. So that's the background. of how we came into this.
I've been playing fantasy sports for how many years? 24 years. So, it sounds good to me. What you were doing, and I love the fact that you say it's a dark side of corporate America, but I would disagree with you. I would say corporate America is the virus, and that entrepreneurship is the virtue.
Yeah, obviously. I see it in the same way, right? But kind of like entrepreneurship is not for everyone, that's for sure. And being in the corporate life is not for everyone. I was kind of like an all-around player in that sense. I can jive with both boards, but most prefer to stay on one side of the aisle, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So, own play, right? I want to talk about own play. I downloaded your game, I started playing it. What is it all about, including your mission and your vision?
Yeah, so the depends on when this episode will air, right? Kind of like the version that you played with is the pre-launch version of the game. So it's not the full experience at all. It's a version that we've been testing for the last 10, 12 months to prove some of our thesis. And the main version will be launched early June. So what's the vision of the game? So going back again, we we wanted to create games that ownership of game assets and tradability are kind of like embedded into the gameplay. And out of the tons of different genres of games, we wanted to focus on mobile gaming. That was our vision and idea. We believe that there are current huge Web2 mobile games that players in them are exhibiting crypto-like behaviors or Degen-like behaviors, whichever word one wants to use in this case, that are very transferable into the crypto world, where they can have even more fun with the game in this. So with that in mind, we wanted to create a mobile game, Web3 game, and what we had in mind was doing a real estate type of game, so a monopoly-like type of game, where people need to acquire real estate, trade it, rate it, change it. From our point of view, it was a good use case of game mechanics that millions of people understand. Game mechanics are really transferable to crypto. Just an example, scarcity, right? Kind of like in real estate, it's so intuitively to understand scarcity and the idea that there is only one building, or because there is only one address of something, right? Versus in other type of games, sometimes scarcity feels a little bit artificial or forced. In a real estate game, scarcity is kind of like baked in. You don't really need to explain it. People get it intuitively that, okay, there is only one Empire State Building in Manhattan. There are not two of them. So from our point of view, that was cool as a thesis as well. So our game, Cityverse Tycoon, is basically a real estate game based on real world. We're starting with Manhattan, New York. We're taking thousands of buildings in real world buildings in Manhattan and turning them into NFT cards. So we're actually painting kind of like a card with graphics that represents the real world building and address. There is only one of each, and as I mentioned, there are NFTs. And there is a gameplay here of rolling dice. You can raid other people's building, visit them, steal from them. You gain virtual coins. You utilize them in order to upgrade your portfolio. By upgrading this portfolio, you are starting to accumulate rewards. In the future, one can realize that probably there's going to be a potential for a token here as well. And there are different iterations that you can go on from here in the game. You can be a renter, which means you don't need to buy a building in order to play the game. You're literally playing in buildings owned by other players, and you're sharing from your in-game rewards revenue. That's how you're paying for rent. And that's a driving factor for a normie to start getting into the crypto side of things of, hold on, why do I have a landlord here? Why I'm sharing my game profits with someone? Okay, welcome. You can go on and buy a building by yourself and become an owner and then build yourself out to become a landlord. Or as I mentioned, you can just come and buy many, many buildings and own a portfolio. So that was the general idea and the vision. We raised money from two venture capital firms, Bessemer and Framework, was 2 years ago. But this is where kind of like some twists and changes to in the plans came into fruition. There is a huge barrier in kind of or obstacle in kind of like creating a mobile Web3 game. There are two names for it. Two words can define it. One is Apple, and the other one is Google. Basically, the duopoly of these two companies over the app stores and their policies in the app stores are really, really not friendly to crypto in general, and let's call it Web3 gaming in particular. In such level that kind of like we felt that kind of it's just a no-go to build an app, a game, a mobile Web3 game that will run on the app stores. And that led us to go through a path that nobody almost ever taken, which is building all of the game that I just described to you as a PWA. So what's a PWA for the audience members here? PWA stands for Progressive Web Apps. It's basically a standard that was pushed from all of the major browsers out there for over a decade already, even more. And it's a standard that allows basically even a website or an HTML app to run as an app. So make the user experience feel like an app and not like something that you're opening up in your mobile browser or in your desktop browser in that sense. Google and Android adopted it immediately. They're very friendly to this. Microsoft as well, Mozilla as well. Guess who's less friendly to this? Apple. But despite being behind, they are indeed investing in this. So this is an existing standard. For the listeners here can go and check it. Kind of like basically in Safari, in the share menu, you have their save to home screen, and in Android you have a similar thing like that. Most of the websites don't support it, so you just have an icon added to your home screen on the mobile device. But if you've built an app for this, then once you tap on this icon, it opens the app full screen, not in the browser, and the experience is like of a mobile app. So we actually went and built up an app like this, started driving traffic early on to test our thesis that we can bring people to install a PWA and play in that. Once we realized that we can do it, that's when we went what we call for the kill and adding all of the Web3 elements to this. And that's the next big launch version that will happen early in June. So where people will be able to trade buildings, which are NFTs peer-to-peer. They will be able to buy a building with fiat while the seller gets paid with USDC. And the building is an NFT and it moves from embedded non-custodial wallets inside the game. So it's a cool experience going to have that kind of like allows normies to collide with Degens under the same playing field. And hopefully that we will be turning these normies into Degens by themselves, right? Our marketing for the public, general public, wasn't Web3 at all. It was much more things like Monopoly, but for real, where people want to come and trade buildings, but we're not using the words NFT, crypto, tokens, non-custodial wallets, whatever, for the general public. The Degens obviously we're marketing to them differently in their own words. And so the vision is kind of like making Cityverse Tycoon the best game out there, onboard millions of normies into Web3. And down the road, we can utilize our platform to launch other titles, either owned and operated by us or by other Web3 gaming companies.
Excellent. So I want to clarify, the game that we're talking about is Cityverse Tycoon.
Exactly. You can go to cityversetycoon.com. You'll see the pre-launch version right now, and in a few weeks, you'll have the full version. We are also minting a Genesis collection soon. So you can stay tuned as well. And I go to our Twitter page, which again is Cityverse Tycoon as well, in Twitter, or you can go to our website, cityversetycoon.com, and go to our socials from there, and you can kind of like get notified of the exact date of the mint, and get more data of what the mint includes in it.
Very cool. So back in 2002, I played this game. It was called Roller Coaster Tycoon 4. And I tell you, I would start in the morning, and before you know it, 20 hours went by. You know, and I'm like, I was turning from a normie into a degen at that time. I just didn't know it, right?
Yep.
But I'm like, I guess I got to eat now. But then the restaurants were closed, and I was like, oh boy. So you're looking to transition normies into degens, right?
Mm-hmm.
How are you going to achieve that transformation? And why wouldn't we? Do you see a world of degens playing your game, or how do you make that? How do you help them get there?
Yeah, so for the degens, why would the degen play our game? I think that's actually an easier question to answer, right? We're not shying away that kind of like the benefit of a Web3 game is the potential financial upside for a player. And the emphasis is on the potential. It cannot be something that is promised to everyone. So that's where we are shying away from the play to earn mechanism. I think that it's building the wrong expectations. It can't be that any player, everybody here is going to earn. It just can't. That's not sustainable, right? But on the other end, the ownership aspect opens up the possibility, the hustle of trading your assets, whether they are NFTs or fungible tokens, right? It's the same mechanism. So we want to enable this and kind of like it's built into the game. Trading buildings, a building is a tool to generate game income, and it's a tradable asset by itself. And so will be to other future unlocks of tokens and things like that. So for the degens, I think that it's kind of like it's more clear. They will see the metrics immediately. They are already seeing it before the game is ready. They are all automatically assuming what are the features that we're going to have in our launch version, and many of them are correct about this. So it's very intuitive for them, right? The idea of renting buildings, buying buildings, owning a portfolio of buildings, all of this stuff for them makes perfect sense. The normies, I think, is where the challenge comes. And we are insisting on, in our game, having the two collide, right? So we didn't want to have a game that is accessible only for normies for degens. And obviously that we didn't want to make a game only for normies because that's Web2 and we don't want to be there. So from our point of view, how we're converting normies. One is start from the top of the funnel of the marketing side. We're not marketing to them a Web3 game. In the future, probably the general point of view of crypto would be better. But for now, for the normies, if you're coming to them with, hey, here's a crypto game, a Web3 game, whatever blockchain lingo word, they are kind of like they're they think it's a scam and they're out. We can all argue that shouldn't be the case. It doesn't really matter. That's the case for now. Will change in the future, but not today. So, but on the other end, we don't want to market it as a Web2 game because it's not smart from our end. So, as I mentioned in our game, and I recommend it for all of the other Web3 games, we are recommending the, part of the tradable assets. In our case, it's the buildings, the dream of owning a building in Manhattan or Dubai later on, or Paris, and, playing this pretend game. But there is real money to be made here, right? Kind of like it's yours. And if you sell it, the money that you make is real money. I can't promise that you'll be able to find the right buyer, the right price. That's up to you, but you can do it, right? So that's the dream that's driving the Web2 people into the game. What we're counting on is that all of the experience that we've been doing is so seamless that they have no idea that they're playing a Web3 game. And slowly but surely, kind of like, the flywheels are working on them. So, for example, you're a Web2 player, you just sign up to the game with either your Apple ID, Facebook, email, or your biometrics, and you have a non-custodial wallet embedded into the game. You have no idea that this happened, by the way. You just see a game wallet. You have no idea that you have a crypto, kind of like a wallet address that you can send into and out of it, kind of like assets, and you're the only one who can control it. Right? We have no access to the funds inside. And you start playing the game, and the buildings, their prices are nominated in dollars. You can buy them with Apple Pay or credit card, fiat. So you don't need to have a USDC in your disposal. The seller, though, he already went through the metrics, right? Kind of like he knows that this building is an NFT and he's going to be paid with USDC. So we are assuming that the Web2 whales will start accumulating buildings by themselves in order to progress faster in the game. Because they would like to kind of like get rid of the landlord as well. Some of them would like to become a landlord as well. And the success stories will start coming out. People will start selling buildings, making money as well. That's where they will realize, okay, how do I cash this out? Oh, you have a wallet, you have USDC here. That's how you turn it into fiat if you want. Or you can use it to buy other stuff here. And guess what? Did you realize that this and this thing, these are tokens as well that have utility in the game, and you can also trade them? And that's how kind of like normies would slowly become turn into Degens. And many won't, by the way. Many will churn out and will figure out that they don't like the game or whatever other reason, and that's okay. That's part of the cycle.
It's not your only game, though, right? You have the Cityverse game, then you have a couple others that are in the pipe, right? One's Mini Life, Treasure Drive. How do they help?
Well, and it can be other partner games as well. So you can leverage your game assets in game number 1 and go to playing game number 2, 3, 4, 5, all accessible under the same PWA. Once they are ready. They're not ready now. Don't expect it now.
They just sound interesting. So you talked about before, you said that there's obstacles, right? One of the obstacles is Apple, and their policies are not friendly. What are some of their unfriendly policies?
Yeah, it's a hot topic. Some people won't agree with that. But people should do their own research. And I'm going to keep it very high level, right? Because we can have hours only of kind of like reviewing Apple's policies. The nation that is called Apple. But basically, there's a lot of litigation around this, right? Kind of like, so it shouldn't come as surprise, but maybe will come to surprise to many of the listeners here. Apple, and it same goes to Google with Android, right? With the Play Store. But kind of like, let's focus on Apple for a second. When you promote an app inside the App Store, generally speaking, and again, I'm putting it in very broad strikes. So there are exemptions, but generally speaking, the only allowed payment provider, system, tool, whatever, is the Apple in-app purchase system. So if you're a game and you want to sell, say, additional dice rolls in your game, say in our game, the default is that you should be using Apple's in-app purchase system. So the thing that all of us learned to use and love so most, of just tapping once and leveraging the credit card that is stored already in the Apple device, that's what you're forced to use. You're not allowed as the game provider to provide alternative payment systems. That's the payment system that you are forced to use, and you're forced to pay Apple a cut of 30% out of this transaction. Now, to be honest, kind of like the 30% part is painful, but I don't want to focus on that only. It's just that kind of like if we want to do an on-chain transaction, we can't really use Apple or any other person like that. Kind of like we need to either use crypto to crypto, aka an on-chain transaction. So say that you come to our game and we want you to purchase a building from me, and you have USDC, then it's an on-chain transaction. You'll pay me, you'll transfer your USDC to me, and the building, which is an NFT, will transfer to you. This is a use case, right? That is basically us offering an alternative payment system where you're not using Apple's payment system, and this is not permitted based on the App Store rules. Now, there are dozens of other ones, but we can just stop here. That's enough by itself. Now, one can say, hold on, you said that you're offering a fiat to crypto. That's right. I'm using a provider that is accepting and is licensed to accept fiat payments on one end and send USDC to the other party, right? But they would be qualified as an alternative payment provider as well. If I was to do it on the App Store, they wouldn't allow it as well. And many of other policies like this. There's been tons and tons of litigation around that in Europe and in the US. Trust Apple to keep things closed. There's going to be war peace before they will recede their power around that. I don't think that that's going to change really soon. So that's the main obstacle.
I didn't realize they forced the in-app purchases like that. Wow, that's kind of
many of your listeners probably, and you maybe encounter this. I'll just show you how strong it is, right? People take it for granted. You've been browsing probably your Amazon app and realized, oh my God, there is a book that I want to buy, and I want to buy it in the form of a Kindle, kind of a Kindle book and not a physical book. And did you notice that when you search for this book in the Amazon app on Apple, there are no links that allow you to purchase the Kindle book? You can't. Exactly because of this policy, because Apple wanted to force Amazon. This is a digital purchase. That's not a physical purchase, right? That's a digital purchase. Purchasing a Kindle book is a digital purchase, right? So Apple was forcing Amazon, hey, give me a cut of 30% of every sale of a Kindle book. And Amazon told them, go screw yourself. They just didn't offer it in the app. The way that you should be purchasing a Kindle book on your iOS device is browsing in Safari, in the browser, or on Chrome to Amazon.com. And there is where you can buy it because you're outside of the App Store.
Is that why no one buys my books?
I don't know. Maybe. but it's kind of like even a kind of like a mega powerful corporate like Amazon can't handle this.
Wow. Interesting. So I want to find out, because you have a different model here, the current status of play to earn and play to own gaming in the crypto sector, and what additional challenges must be overcome to, to get where you think we should be in the long run.
Well, I think what we're doing is exactly that. We need to make it more accessible for the relevant masses, let's call it like that, kind of like the people that have a chance to kind of like get hooked to the crypto world in the right way. And accessibility is the key word here. I think there should be significantly more mobile games out there, and in order to have a mobile game, you'll need to bypass the App Store challenges. So I think that what we are doing is the key element for this.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm trying to think of back in the Roller Coaster Tycoon day that I played. There was a cheat code. It was if you name your park attendees John D. Rockefeller, you get like $1 million or $100,000 a piece. So I would name them all John D. Rockefeller, and then I would build these massive roller coasters, right?
Yeah.
Is there going to be a cheat code opportunity for your participants, or you don't want to disclose that?
I don't want to disclose it, but kind of keep in mind a challenge that gaming in general has, but Web3 gaming has significant, kind of like it's the same challenge on steroids, are bots, right? Kind of like so the that's going to happen, and we will be fighting it like all of the other games as well. Yeah, we will probably try to put some Easter eggs and cheat codes in the game, but kind of like we should be very secretive about it and very fair about it. The idea is that kind of like it should be fun. The main goal that we have is it should be fun. And yes, there are opportunities. There are opportunities for people to make something, but there is a balance act here, right? We don't want stressed out people in our environment. That shouldn't be the case. It should be fun. The trading element should add emotion, stickiness to your experience as a participant. It should make it more fun, not a stressful event, not it's not work. It shouldn't be work. It should be fun.
Fun and ethical. I love it. That sounds great.
Yep, exactly.
So I want to thank you very much for talking to me today. I enjoyed this. I'm looking forward to the full version when it comes out. You can probably count on me to play it. So
I'm counting. We're counting. You can find us, as I mentioned, in cityversetycoon.com. That's where you can play with the pre-launch version that we have right now, and early June with the main launch version. And you can go to our socials through this website, especially to our Twitter page, and that's where you can kind of like get notified both about our upcoming mint and the game launch.
And if people want to find out more information about you, how can they do that?
LinkedIn, that's a good place to find me out. They can reach out to me in LinkedIn, through Twitter as well, both places. Just search for my name, Tomer Pascal. There aren't many out there like that, or OwnPlay. Oh, in the website as well, cityversetycoon.com. There is a section about the entire team, including myself. Would love to hear from everybody.
Awesome. Thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you for your time. It was a pleasure. Bye-bye.